So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker for this evening. Her name is Dr. Susanna Christiansen, and Susanna, after working towards her master's in philosophy, received her doctorate in philosophy in 2001 with the PhD thesis, The Dynamic Unity of Human Action. So Susanna is a person who loves to make us think because she loves to think herself. She's passionate about the topics of freedom, determination, identity, theory of knowledge, and interdisciplinary studies on human behavior. And she loves answering all types of thoughtful questions. So now I'm going to leave the floor to Susanna Christensen. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Those who have heard me before know that for me, seeing in this case 68 connections, that means more people, devoting their Friday evening to think is like restore hopes in humanity. And thinking that you're gonna keep doing this for a full weekend, even more. So you make me happy today. And I hope that what we're gonna say is gonna be helpful for you. This topic, that is friendship, can be seen from many different perspectives. So hopefully we're gonna say something useful in the next 40 minutes, and then I'm looking forward to your questions. As Brianne said, more than talking, I love exchanging and listening to what you have to say. And as we are coming from so many different places, it's gonna be even more interesting. So if you don't have any question as I'm talking, don't worry. Just enjoy the discussion at the end. And if I'm talking and there are things that I say that are not clear and that is important to understand before going ahead, just write it in the chat, as Brianne said. Whoever is reading it, because I'm not reading it, is gonna ask the question if there are terms that you don't understand or that I don't explain enough. So as I said, this topic could be studied from many different perspectives. Here, we're gonna focus on ourselves, basically. We're gonna focus on self-realization. So friendship as a way of self-realization. And this, again, could be seen from a sociological perspective, from entertainment, from philosophy. That is what we're gonna do here. So we are gonna share basically two ideas today. And for doing so, I'm gonna share screen. I'm gonna share a PowerPoint with you that is very, very simple, but I think it's gonna help us to follow this presentation. So as I don't know you, well, I know some of you, but I don't know many of you. So I prepared a super short poll. Before explaining what it is, I have to say it's anonymous and there are not right or wrong answers. So just write whatever it is true in your life. And it's related not to your full life, it's related to this topic, so friendship. The poll has 3 questions. The first one is, how many friends do you have? And this question is very broad, so it could be 100. But there is a parenthesis where I wrote some ideas to help you think who is that we really mean that when we say friends. So it says that you need to know the person to a certain degree. There are some examples there. These examples may not be something that apply to your friends. Add whatever examples you want. The point is not to say that you have a friend when you have gone for a coffee with one person once, because that doesn't meet the terms friend. And then the second question is very similar to the first one. It is, how many close friends do you have? And there is a parenthesis also explaining what I mean by that. And the third one is simply if you think that friends should think alike. So I know that several of you are not in individual connections, and it is going to be impossible to an average of the participants that are behind you. So just choose one person to answer, and that will be enough for the purpose of this presentation. So with this, I think, Brianne, if you're ready, we can launch the poll. How are we doing? Eva said that she's doing okay. She finished already.
We are missing only 7 people.
Only 7 people. Okay, go 7 people. Sarah's doing good. Catherine's doing great. Okay. Don't think too much. Whatever it is, it is. There is no right or wrong. Okay. Did our 7 people vote?
Yes, we have 96% voted, so I'm going to end the polling and you will see the
No,
result.
no. Finish it when everyone has done it. Wait. Everybody's important
There
here.
are 2 people missing.
Okay, go to people. If you don't know, I didn't have an option that says I don't know. I could have one. Kathleen is encouraging people. You can do it, guys. Okay, are we still missing 2?
No, it's done. It's 100%.
Okay. Can you publish the results? Okay, here it is. Okay, it says 17% of you have between 1 and 4 friends. 28 between 5 and 10, 20 between 10 and 20, 15 between 30 and 20 and 30, and 20 more than 30. So it's very like there is a variation. Okay, 17, 28, 20, 15, 20. And then for the close friends, let me go down. We have most of you in here, we see the difference. 43% of you have between 2 and 5 close friends. 23% of you, so like definitely a majority of you have between 1 and 5 close friends. And then 17% between 5 and 10, 11% between 10 and 15, and 6% more than 15. Whoa. Okay, and I'm extremely happy to see the answer to the third question. Do you think it is possible to be friends with someone who thinks differently from you? So 5% of you think that is not possible, and 95% of you think that it is. Okay, that gives me an idea, and I hope you're gonna enjoy what we're gonna say next. So the 2 ideas, I told you that we were gonna share 2 ideas in this presentation. So before going to the first idea, I want to share with you basically the results of roundtables that were held here in Canada by the Conference Board of Canada, that is a think tank that do research that afterwards is used by enterprises to plan their future. And they held some roundtables between October 2019 and March 2020. And in these roundtables, they were all over Canada. 70% of participants, so a huge majority, singled out one concern that was the lack of social and emotional skills in the next generations. This is what they call CES, social and emotional skills. The reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention is that what they say that next generations are gonna lack specifically is communication, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills. So this goes exactly to the core of what we're talking about today, that is friendships. To be a friend, you need communication skills, you need critical thinking, and you need interpersonal skills. So these people who met thought that next generations are missing that. We are gonna see We're not going to explain why this happened. There are many reasons, but we are going to see, we're going to have this diagnosis, but we are going to go to the roots, not of this problem, but to the roots of friendship. And by going there, we are going to be able, and hopefully this is going to be the goal of this presentation, you're going to be able to know how is the quality of your relationships, of those relationships that you were thinking about when you answered the poll. So based on what we are going to see, you are hopefully going to be able to see what's the quality of your relationships, and this is going to be a solution to this problem aspect that looks like we have to pay attention to today. So the first idea is the we is prior to the I. This is an idea that looks like contradictory to the primacy of the individual, because it looks like we are saying that the group, the community, is more important than the individual. But this is not what we're saying. What we're saying is that when we came to this world, there was already someone there, and that we came because someone wanted us to come. So the we is prior to the I means that there was already a society here. There was a group when we came. And I find this idea very important, even if it's not exactly related to friendship, because it's sine qua non, it's something that needs to be there when we speak about friendship. Our social behavior is not a personal choice. We don't decide to be social. We are not individuals that then one day we say, oh, I want to be social. I want to associate with some people around and make a group and start a community. We could do that, but we are not the origin of this sociality. We are social not because of a personal choice. We are social because we're made that way. And this is very important because the sense of belonging, to which friendships is a very important part of, is part of our being. We're made social. Think of, okay, you are walking around your city. There is a lot of people. There is people in your house too. There are people in your school. But let's imagine that you're walking around, but no one notices you. No one can see you. So you go to you take the bus and say good morning, and no one answers because no one can see you. You go to the cinema and no one can say anything to you because they don't notice you. You go home, everybody's having supper, and you say good evening, and no one answers because no one notices you. What is the feeling that you have? The feeling is the feeling of someone who thinks that she does not exist. And yet that person is existing, that person is breathing, that person is walking around. What is missing in the life of that person is social recognition. So when others do not notice us, even if we are existing, it's as if we did not exist. This is how strong our social nature is. We need others, not only to do things for us, not only because we don't know how to build a house, so I need someone to build a house for me. We need someone, and we need others especially, because we are focusing here, remember always that we're focusing on friendship as self-realization. In order to know myself, I need others. I'm gonna give you two examples to show this. The first one is self-knowledge. To know myself, I need others. Just think of something as simple as your face. None of you can see your face. None of you can see your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Now it's more difficult to do this exercise because we're in front of the camera. So you can say, yeah, I do know how's my face. But imagine that there is no camera, there is no mirrors in the world. The only way to know your face is that someone in front of you tell you how is your face. And this goes also for our physiognomy. When we walk, we're walking in 2 legs, not in 4. We're not bent on ourselves. We are walking, and that means that we are open to others. That means that when we walk, we're looking at what is in front of us. Think of where our arms are. When we walk, our heart is exposed, like literally, our body. I'm talking about something super material first. Our body is exposed. Our heart is vulnerable. Like if someone hit us in the heart, we are dead. And yet we walk around with our heart open to everybody. And our arms could have been like one arm in our chest and the other one in the back, protecting us, like open the way among people, or protecting us, protecting our heart. But it's not. Our arms are to the side, as if we were always welcoming people, as if we were always ready to give a hug to people in front of us. That speaks a lot about the social nature of human beings. We are there for others. So when we think, or we have this idea that, and I insist on this point because it's something that in the 20th century some philosophies have made us believe, but it's not true, that we decide to be social, that we are individuals and one day we decided to associate with others out of needs. But this is not true, and we can see it in many ways, but one easy way to see it is simply the way in which our physiognomy is, the way in which our body is organized. And when I say that we need others for self-knowledge, I don't mean only for what we cannot see from the outside, like our physical body. I also mean reactions. There are some things that we don't know, and we all have experience about that. We don't know unless someone from the outside, an exterior look, tell us about. Like things as simple as, I remember when I was like 10, 11 years old, a friend of mine worked together in the classroom, and she looked at me and said, "Did you realize that every time that you think, you look through the window?" Now, every time that I do it, because it's true, I do it a lot, I remember her. So she made me aware of something as simple as that, because it's true. Every time that the teacher said, I don't know, think about something, I would look for the window instinctively. So the same thing happened to us with many, many things. The persons that are outside help us to know ourselves in a way that we couldn't do it ourselves, because we are in ourselves. So the first idea, the first example, to illustrate this idea that we is prior to the eye, is self-knowledge. We need people's recognition, people's knowledge of ourselves to get to know ourselves. And the second idea is that in this recognition, in this knowledge that others have about us, they don't only recognize us as individuals that belong to a group. They see something much more interesting. They see us as unique individuals. They see us as one of a kind. And this is essential for friendship. We're going to see it in the second idea that we're going to discuss about. But it's very, very important that when we meet someone, and when someone meets us, this individual that is in front of me and me for others, we are unique. And in that sense, we are always a gift for others, because no one has what we have. No one has in the world what we have. When we are going to give us a gift to someone, we think, okay, what is that person need? What is that person doesn't have? What is that person may enjoy, but because she doesn't have it already? Well, that always answer, like our individuality always answer that question with myself. Like it sounds super corny, but we are a gift for the world. Like if society would be a party, we are a gift. We are the gift. And every individual that takes part in that society are gifts. So when sometimes we say, I wish I can find my place in society. I wish I can find my place within my group of friends. I wish I can find my place within my family. Well, the answer is very simple. It's much more simple than you think. The answer is the place is you. There is no one like you. So the best way to find our place in a group of human beings is to be ourselves, because we are unique. So when we say that we is prior to the I, as you now see, we are not meaning that individuals are not important. What we're meaning is that each individual is more than important, is unique. And that her or his uniqueness is seen partly because other people recognize in her, in him, something that does not exist anywhere else. So this first idea, even though it's not directly related to friendship, is very important for what we're gonna see next. Okay, sometimes we have friends, now we're going to friendship, that we are with because they always help us. There's always that person that whatever you need, you call her or you call him, and the person is gonna be there. There are some other friends that we are with because they are funny, because every time that we talk to them, they make us laugh, they have something uplifting to say, and it's nice to be with them because of that. Other people are the typical person that knows everybody in the city. So every time that you need something, you call that person and that person says, yeah, I have a friend, I'll send him over, he's gonna fix that. Or I need someone who speaks Chinese with this tone. Yeah, I know the person, I'll send it to you. So she knows so many people that you feel safe with her because you are not gonna have any problem because she has always resources. So this is another kind of friend. We have other friends that we like to be with because of their talents, because she sings very well, because she dances very well, because she plays the guitar as no one does. So we like being with them because we have a fun time with them, enjoying their talents. We have other friends that we are with because it's just we have a super good time together. Whatever we do is fun, and whatever we do is a pleasure. So all these friendships, you can now think of the people that you thought of when you were completing the poll, and probably many of them, especially in the first category, many of them fall into one of these or all of them. Like people who are always there to help, people that have thousands of connections and solve your problems, people that make you laugh, that have talents that you enjoy, or that you have a good time with. Okay, in this slide, we have already something that Aristotle, that is the author that we are going to speak more about today, because he is the authority when speaking of friendship, even today. If you Google friendship today and philosophy, many articles on Aristotle's theory of friendship are going to come up. And this is very reassuring because he lived on Earth so many centuries ago. That means that what he said is still, and if what he says is still relevant, it means that it may be true. So in this slide, we have two of the three kind of friendships that he described in his book, The Nicomachean Ethics. The first type is this one, that is friendship of utility, friendship based on utility. And the second one is this group here, that is the friendship based on pleasure. This, seen like this, can sound like, oh no, I don't want to have friends based on utility. Or no, I don't want to have friends only to have fun with them, because it sounds superficial. But most of our friendships are based on either utility or pleasure. And that's okay. There is a deeper kind of friendship that we're gonna see next, but it is okay to have most of our friends based on utility or pleasure, just taking into account that we are not using people when we are speaking about a friendship of utility, or that we are not the same using people for our own pleasure when we are speaking about friendship based on pleasure. This is not what he means. For him, friendship has to be always reciprocal. So it means that you do favors for your friends, but your friends also do favors to you. And the same thing with pleasure. You enjoy your time with them, but they also enjoy their time with you. So for friendship to exist, it has to be always two ways. So there is no risk of using people as tools for my needs or my enjoyment. But in here, something that I would like you to keep in mind is what we said before about being a gift for the world. If we are a gift for the world, we don't give to our friends needs. We give to our friends the gift of ourselves. So if, and now you can start thinking about your own relationships. If what I do to my friends, what I give to my friends is my needs, let's say, I just call her when I need something, there may not be friendship there, because friendship first has to be reciprocal. And then what I'm looking for in that friendship is only solving my needs. So when Aristotle spoke about friendship based on utility and friendship based on pleasure, he wasn't meaning using people as tools. But most of our relationships are of this kind. Now we get to the third type, and we're gonna share with you. I'm gonna share with you the second idea of this presentation, that is the explanation of friendship based on virtue. That is the third kind of friendship that Aristotle spoke about. He says, for the first two types, the friendship based on utility and the friendship based on pleasure, we are talking about friendships that don't last forever. And that we can understand it. Like, we may enjoy the pleasure, the talent of someone who loves how to dance, but then that person maybe at 60, 70, she cannot dance anymore. So we can enjoy that pleasure. Or maybe we move on in life and that person that has many connections doesn't have that many connections right now. So there are friendships that are real, but they are temporary. The friendships that last forever, and probably in here you're gonna recognize the relationships that you had with your close friends, the ones that you put in your answer number 2. The friendship based on virtue is the one that responds to the most deepest phrase that you can say to a human being. And this is the second idea. And the phrase is this one: it is good that you exist. This is the deepest thing that you can say to a human being. It is not saying, I'm friends with you because you make me laugh. It is not, I'm friends with you because you help me always. It is, I'm friends with you because I like the fact that you exist. It is good that you exist. Imagine how deep this is, that only that phrase can give huge security in the identity of a human being. We said before in this exercise of imagination, when we were walking around the city and we didn't see anybody, well, we saw everybody. That was the tragedy there. We saw everybody, but no one's noticed us. We said how important was social recognition. This was a very radical example that is not gonna ever happen. But in here, we're seeing the same, but in the positive side. When someone says it is good that you exist, that person is saying, I don't care what you do. I don't care about your performance. I am happy that you exist. So if you fail your exams, if you, I don't know, if you do something that is wrong, it doesn't matter to me, not because I'm indifferent to it, and we're going to speak about this in a second, not because I'm indifferent to your behavior, but because my love for you is not based on what you do, it's based on what you are. Aristotle, when talking about virtue, he says, he relates this concept that is not exactly the same, but for the purpose of this presentation, we're gonna just refer to it. He refers to virtue as habits. So habits, the word habit in English comes from avere in Latin, that means to have. And we say this phrase, I have friends. When we say I have friends, we use the verb to have in a very different way from what we do when we use the verb to have in a phrase like I have a dress. So I have a dress, and we know it. I have a dress is not the same thing as I have a friend. And it's not the same thing as I have an idea. So and here we're going to do a super short philosophical explanation on possession, on the verb to have, because this is, I think, going to help us to understand the friendship based on virtue. There are 3 ways of possessing, and here I'm following Professor Paulo's explanation of possession. Professor Paulo is a Spanish philosopher. So we can have things in a practical way. As I say, I have a dress, I have an instrument, I have a ring, whatever we have. That is an object, something external to ourselves. We can also have things in an intentional way. Intentional in philosophy means immaterial. So that would be having an idea or having the image of something that I see outside. If I'm walking outside, in front of my window, there is a mountain. So if I see a tree, I have that tree in my mind without the material part. So this tree in my mind would be an intentional possession. So I possess the tree intentionally. And then there is a third level of possession, that is the level of virtue. And here is what I wanted to highlight, and the reason why I use this definition from Professor Paulo, because his definition of virtue, look at this. For him, virtue is when having and being meet. So clearly we are talking about a very deep level of possession. It's a possession that even if I am the one possessing something, I am also possessed in a way by that thing, because I let that thing be part of my being. This is what virtues are, and this is what in ordinary language we say, okay, I don't like the word, many of you know that, I don't like saying acquiring habits, I like developing habits or expressing habits. So what we mean by that is there is a quality or there is something, an attitude that I would like to have in my life. So what I do is to do acts of virtue, do acts so that that virtue is developed in me. So what we want is that this quality be part of myself. This is what we say. Like, this is not still part of myself. This is not still part of my system. Okay, when we apply this theory to freedom, to friendship, that is not something that Paulo does, is not something that Aristotle does, but I think it could be done. When we apply this idea of virtue as the place where having and being meet to friendship, it goes back to what Aristotle said, speaking about friends, when he said the friend is another self. So when you see the other person, and we're talking here about friendships that last forever, these friendships that refer to your very close friends. And that's why in the explanation, in the parenthesis in the poll, I told you that they were very close to you, so much so that they know what you think, they know your dreams, they are like another self. So when we speak about friendship based on virtue, we're speaking about friendships that are that refer to people that are part of ourselves. That because it's at that level, the possession became part of my being. So with this kind of people, so my super close friends, these friendships that last forever, there are some dialogues, some exchanges that are proper to that kind of relationship that gives us the security that the phrase, "it is good that you exist," gives. When your friend tells you, "it is good that you exist, so I don't care about your performances, I don't care about the results of your actions, I care about you," that means that the level of possession that we have of the other person is that we have let her come into our lives and become part of ourselves. So the conversations that we're going to have with that person should be, or Aristotle says that usually are, friendships in which we share everything with the person we love, with that friend, these friends. Because of that, it's normal that our friends, and the numbers we saw it clearly in the numbers in the polls, it's normal that the numbers of close friends that we have is much less than the numbers of friends in general. With these close friends, we are able to speak about whatever and say our thoughts, I think, whatever we think, without fear of being judged. And this does not mean, as 95% of you said, that we have to think in the same way. I may have, and I do have, many friends that do not think in the same way that I do, but they know that they can say whatever they want, because I'm gonna still say to them, it is good that you exist. And the same thing for them. I'm gonna say things that I know that they don't agree with, but they respect that. And respect is a form of love that is very important in friendship. So close friends say whatever they want, because a friendship is not about thoughts, it's about being that is expressed on thoughts, but it's about a being that is respected only by the fact of existing. Or with our friends, we can share our dreams, and we're not afraid of these dreams being received in a way that is gonna take away what is important for us. Some people do not share dreams because they are afraid that these dreams that are important for them are gonna become not understood by someone else. So something that is very valuable for us becomes something not interesting for someone else. And some people are afraid of sharing at this level in general because of that. So friends are those who you say, I dream that the world is gonna be that way. I dream that. I have a friend with whom we speak a lot about dreams. And sometimes when she has a new dream, she say, can I tell you my dreams? Because no one understands them. It's not that I understand her dreams better and she doesn't understand mine completely, but it doesn't matter because the sharing is safe. We know that we can share dreams with each other. And then friends that are of this kind, they can say to someone, I don't know, I had this good news for you. I had this achievement. And my friend is going to celebrate. Professor Peterson, speaking about precisely close friends, he said that these are the ones that celebrate with you without turning the attention towards them. You know, these people that you say, I don't know, super happy because I won that prize. And the person would say, yeah, I have won it too. And start telling you when the person won this award 4 years ago. And you are like, okay, I'm happy for you, but I was sharing right now that I won it. So he said, friendships of this kind are those who celebrate with you without turning the attentions toward them. And then friends of this kind also give feedback with no problem. And this is very hard today. When we hear, you do you and I do me, this is very beautiful as an affirmation of authenticity, but it's not beautiful when it becomes indifference. We said before, respect is a form of love, but indifference is not. So sometimes when we say, well, it's her life, she can do whatever she wants with it. Or we can say, we're saying that we say to our friends, it is good that you exist, regardless of their performance. Yes, but this is not indifference. Respecting someone's ideas is not being indifferent towards his or her decisions. So giving feedback, if I have a friend, let's say something that is obviously something that everybody should be concerned about. If I see that she has addictions of any kind, I cannot just say, well, you do you, I do me, and I love you the same, because we're not loving her. She's part of herself, and we want her to be happy. So when I say something to her, I'm not being irrespectful. I'm just not being indifferent to her life because I care, simply. And I think we all have had experiences of good friends that give loyal feedback. And the reaction is not defensive. If there is friendship, the reaction is not, why are you doing that? Why are you telling me that? And it's not answering back. It's just thinking. Because you know that the person is doing it for you. Like it just happened to me a few months ago. A friend told me we had a common friend that was going through a rough time. And this third person asked me, have you talked to her lately? And I say, no, it has been like 4 months that I haven't talked to her. And that was weird because she's usually in contact. So this third friend, very seriously, she told me, you should have called her before, because you knew that the silence was her normal and she may have needed us. And it's true. And I didn't tell her, you too, you could have called her, because she was right. We should have done something. So when advice, feedback comes from friends, there is no fear of being judged or of irrespecting the other person, because what we want is the person to be happy. And the feedback could be taken or not taken. We have no power over what people are gonna do with that. But it is important. It's an important part of freedom, of friendship. So when we say you do you and I do me, nice as an affirmation of authenticity, but not when it becomes indifference toward friends. And the same thing for sharing hard moments to your friends. You don't need to appear always okay, because you're not always okay. So it is more than okay to share when we are not okay, because they need to know they are part of ourselves. Virtue is the place where having and being meet. So we need to share our lives as they are. And this is part of the beauty of friendship. And we're going to find consolation many times just by sharing that the day went wrong, that exam didn't go well. Just by sharing it with a friend, and we all have had that experience, the friend may not give any advice, because sometimes friends don't have any advice to give. But just by listening to us, the problem is gone and we pass to the next chapter. But because friendship was there, friendship is like this safe recipient where we share our inner being. There was a story that I heard years ago about a high school reunion. It happens like 10 years after these kids graduated. And they were talking about typical things that we talk in these meetings, like, hey, how are you? Where do you work? How's your family? And all of a sudden, one of the classmates approached someone and told him, there were two guys, told him, I have something against you. Imagine not having seen someone for 10 years and the person approached you and said, I have something against you. So this person said, yeah, how are you? How's your family? How's your work? And he said, when we were in high school, I saw you talking sometimes to people one by one. And I knew, because they told me after, that you were talking to them about their lives and sharing things that you thought they should do better. And all these years, in these 10 years, I have gone through many difficult times. And I have taken some decisions that were wrong. And sometimes I thought, what if that friend would have told me something then? I remember when I heard that story, my first reaction was, oh, come on, if he wanted an advice, he could have asked for it, right? But sometimes we don't know that we need an advice. So that man didn't know that he needed it in high school. But after, he said, oh, maybe I should have talked to him. Because this person was some of these rare persons in the world that has the gift of advice, that has wisdom innate, because he was a high school boy. But he had some insights in people's life, and he was friends with them. And he was courageous enough not to let respect become indifference, not to let this you do you, I do me become indifference. So after that, we are finishing, and I'm just going to share a worry that I have. After listening to all this, and the beauty of friendship, and how secure is that place, and how happy we are with our friends, and how much we learn about ourselves when we are with them, we may wonder, and if it's so beautiful, why it is sometimes so difficult to make friends of this kind, of this third kind, friendship based on virtue. A friend that you can say, it is good that you exist, and that person says the same thing to us. Well, I think there are several reasons. I just want to mention two that we can do something about. The first one is that we sometimes don't feel like a gift for the world. Sometimes we feel like we have to do something to find our place, to fit in some way. And really, the place is you. Really, we need to find, to see ourselves as a gift for others in order to be able to say to others, you are a gift too. So sometimes the problem is not culture, differences of values, the way that people look at me. Sometimes the problem, if there is a problem, is the way in which we look at ourselves. So we are a gift for the world. And you may say, okay, how do I realize that I am a gift for the world? Just look at the mirror, smile, and say, thank you for being there. There is a song that says, it is God, thank you because you made me wonderfully. This is something that we have to say to ourselves, because that reminds us that we are a gift for the world. There is no one like us. And this we can know 100% sure. There is no one like us in the world. And the second idea is that openness implies vulnerability. We said before that human beings, when we walk into legs, we are vulnerable. Our heart is exposed to people. While opening interiorly, opening our world to people, of course means vulnerability, because this may not be received in the same way that we live it. But it's worth taking the risk, because the other option is to live, as we said in the example of the imagination of walking around without no one noticing us. So it is worth taking the risk of vulnerability. And it's in a way very beautiful that we are vulnerable, because in relationships, we don't possess things the same way as we do with pencils. So in relationships, there is a possession that touches the being, and that touches the being of a free person. So it is beautiful that in this exchange, no one is controlling, because we don't want to possess people in the way we possess tools. So if we feel vulnerable when opening to our friends, it's good. It means that our relationship is genuine, is authentic. But don't close up because of that feeling of vulnerability, because it's worth taking the risk. The other option is to live by yourself. And just to finish, I wanted to read a quotation that goes very well with the topic. The title of this workshop is by William Rawlins, that is a professor of Ohio University. He says, friendship is all about choice and mutual agreement, and the broad ability to pursue and navigate those relationships as you see fit is an indicator of your ability to self-determine overall. Basically, your friendship shows how free you are, because your friendship shows, he says, it's all about choice and mutual agreement. This is what we do when we are talking to friends. And this shows those relationships as you see fit is an indicator of your ability to self-determine overall. So if we're talking about friendship as an indicator of freedom, we can see now here very easily how friendship is always a risk, because freedom is a risk. It's a power that we have to self-determine ourselves, but it's a power that we have to self-determine ourselves without being 100% sure that things are going to go right. So I wish you many friends based on virtue. So many friends of the type that you can say, looking at the eyes of that person, it is good that you exist. And I think that's it. Now I'm looking forward to your comments or questions or objections. And here there are some. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Yes, we have one question so far in the chat. I'll read it to you for everyone, okay? That's okay. So it's from Queenie, and she says, Susanna, you had said that if we have a problem and we talk about it with a friend, a lot of the time the problem disappears. Why is that?
Yeah, this is because of us. Well, I don't see Queenie, but I'm going to talk to everybody. This is because of our social nature, precisely. We said before in this example of imagination that we were walking around, no one notices us, and it was like if we didn't exist. Well, when we shared something to someone, just by the fact of being acknowledged as someone that has a problem, the problem disappears. Not because the problem is solved, maybe there is still something to be solved, but many times in human behavior, a lot of our problems has to do with the worry that we have about them. And carrying out problems by ourselves make the problems bigger. So by simply sharing it, that component of I'm not alone with this problem makes the problem either to solve if there was no problem, or at least to be lived socially. And that makes things easier. This is just an image, but it works that way. When you are carrying a huge rock by yourself, it's very heavy. If you share it with someone else, it's still heavy, but it's less heavy than it was. Well, this is what happens when we share our world. And also, there is another component that is that we express our thoughts by talking. So when we talk, things become simpler than when we have everything in our mind. And it happens sometimes that we say, I don't know how to say it, and we have a whole complication inside, and your friend said, just say it the way you have it in your mind. And we say it, and we say to ourselves, oh, it wasn't that complicated. But why is that? Precisely because language makes things easier, because make our thoughts easier. So that's the reason why sharing makes things lighter.
So just a reminder to everyone, there's another related question, so don't lose that thought too much, but a reminder that if you'd like to say your question, ask your question out loud to Susanna, you can just use the raise your hand feature on the participants tab and I'll see you there. So Rosie had a related question though. She says, how do we share our problems without falling into self-pity, complaining, and negativity?
Yeah, just keep in mind that friendship is always above the other. Keep in mind that's why I gave you this example that is only material, but it shows also how we are wired inside. We're made for others. So when we share problems with other person, it's not to trespass the problem to her and for her to say, poor one, yeah, you have so many problems. When we share with others in a mature way, because we could do that too, but when we share in a mature way, what we want is, what we're looking for is precisely sharing. And when we share, there are two people in it. When there is the victim complex that is very present in our society, what we have is not two people. What we have is one people that is sharing needs. And that's why before I told you, remember that you are a gift for your friends. So you are not there to give your needs to your friends. And this is a nice way this evening and this weekend to think about your relationships. That what is that you give to others? So that doesn't mean that you cannot share problems with them. But the reason why, everything is in the why, the reason why you are sharing with them these problems is not that they say poor you, is that they help you with it, or that they help you to see the same thing with a different pair of eyes. That is always very helpful when dealing with problems, because some things for us may be super difficult, and then someone else look at it from another perspective and say, hey, wait, this is an opportunity, let's use it right. And we cannot see that part because we are not in that place that our friends are. So the answer to that question is think of the why you're sharing that. If you're sharing it to unload yourself and be pitied, well, better don't do it, because this is not friendship. If you are doing it to share the burden and have the advice or the vision or just the listening of the other person, that's friendship.
Perfect. Another question here is that perhaps related to what you were just saying, but okay, if we know that we need the others for self-realization and I come to get to know myself, that means also that others need me. No, okay, I'm a gift for them, but they also need me as a recipient of their gift. No? So how can I be the type of person that others need? What do you see as important in that?
Yeah, in that, I think very important is openness, because we all have our own vision on things, and that's normal because we cannot have everybody's perspectives. But when someone comes to us, try to see her as the gift that she is, not as you are. Because there are some things that people may share with you and that for you are not that important. And you will say, but don't cry about it. Like, it's a nonsense. Yeah, it may be a nonsense for you, but it's not for her. So recognizing her is in her uniqueness, or him in his uniqueness, helps us to be open to people as people need. Once I heard something very beautiful about love. The person said, it's not enough to love people. People need to feel loved. And this, even though it may be the same at the end, in many cases, is not obvious if we think only about giving in the way that we need to be to give. Like, I don't know, this is very clear when there are different cultures in a family. I grew up in a family that is half Venezuelan and half Danish. And the ways of expressing affection were super different, like we're opposite. And it is very beautiful how each one, especially my parents, because in there it was more genuine, each one showed affection in the way that the other person needed it. So when listening to others and receiving the gift of others, I think a super essential feature that we need to develop is openness, precisely openness to a gift that we don't control. And this is part of the beauty of relationships. We don't control what she's going to say. We don't control what is important to her. We don't control what matters to her. But it doesn't matter, because I still say to her, it is good that you exist. So openness, and I would say a lot of listening, so that we know the person as she is important.
Perfect. And the next question here that goes exactly with how you finished of saying it is good that you exist comes from Christina, Stefania, and Sarah. But is it necessary to really be friends with someone before affirming that? Their question is, can you not still value someone's existence without knowing them at all? Like, see them, value their life, and respect them as an individual.
Yeah. For sure you can say, and metaphysically speaking, you can say of everybody, it is good that you exist. But I think here we're talking about relationships. We wanted to make a distinction between, in the existential level, in time and space, not only theoretically, in time and space, that means that you cannot say this literally to everyone, because you don't have time to do that truly. So yes, you can say that about everyone, but in here we're making a difference between friends that you meet and you share some things with them, and friends that get to a level of knowledge in which you are able to say that in a personal way. But yeah, theoretically, you can say that every human being, and this is something very beautiful, every human being that exists, because he's unique, is a candidate to receive that phrase, it is good that you exist. Yeah. There's much more to it, but we are not going to get here into theology. So yeah, you can say it fully and truly.
Perfect. I'm going to put some questions together now that are about handling conflict in friendship. So, for example, the two questions that we have here are potentially related to what to do when a friend like we talked about constructive criticism. You didn't use these words, but to be able to receive feedback from our friends now, and not being afraid to give feedback. But how do we know that this comes from a place of love and friendship, not just negativity and criticism? How do we discern between those things? And also how to maintain a friendship when somebody doesn't take our criticism in that way, in a friendly way.
Yeah. In friendship is super essential dialogue. And we are not perfect. So even if we know that our friends are not perfect either, even if we know that we are friends and that we are open to criticism and that we are open to feedback, sometimes because of whatever, this is not gonna be received either by us or by others in the way that friends would do it. And it doesn't matter in the moment. What matters is that after, because we are friends, because we dialogue, because we know, and this I think is the key, because we know that this feedback is not changing the fundamental of our relationships, because our relationship is based on virtue, it's not based on performance. So it's based on it's good that you exist. So as long as we both exist, the friendship is still there. So dialogue is important. So let's say that I didn't take well something that my friend told me today, and today is Tuesday. Well, tomorrow or Thursday or in the weekend, I first need to be able to tell her, hey, I have been thinking about that, and really, why are you saying that? And then be able to listen to what the person has to say. But if I know that my relationship with her is based not on performance, so not on her expectations about what I may do or not, because my affection for her and the affection that she has for me is not deserved. And this is what is beautiful about friendship. Like friendship is not a prize for good behavior. Friendship is a gift. So in these feedbacks that sometimes we may not take well, this feedback is at the level of actions, this is not going to change the fundamental relationship that we have with them. So I think that talking about it openly is the best way to overcome that, and that doesn't get into identity. Sometimes when we say don't take things personally, what we mean is that we cannot take something that is about our behavior or our ideas to the level of identity. When she says, I don't know, you are complaining all the time, she's not saying that essentially you are a complainer. Like if I define your identity is complainer. No, she's saying lately you have been complaining a lot, stop it. So when I'm able to distinguish between my actions and my being, and remember that this relationship is at the level of being, then it's easier to take criticism well, even if my first reaction, it may be negative. But if I talk to that person in a few days, things are gonna take the dimension that they should have. So I encourage you a lot to give feedback, because today, I don't know, that's why I spoke to you about respect and indifference. It's like respect has become indifference. So don't let it become like that way, because respect is a form of love, but indifference is not. I don't know if I answered your question, Brian. Well, whoever's question was.
For me, yes, but I think yes. So we have one final question that's written in the chat, and I think that's about all we'll have time for. It's a practical tip. A request for practical tips on how to deepen friendships when you can't see people in person.
Yeah, this is COVID friendships. Well, thank God we're human beings. Because we have faculties that are non-material, we're able to go beyond walls without moving from where we are. So we are able to communicate with people, even if we are not physically with them. Of course, it's much better to go to the cinema with your friend and not to do a Netflix party, but we still are communicating through social media in a way that could be deep. Because what matters is not so much the means through which we communicate. What matters is what we communicate with them. So if we're communicating ourselves, our lives, it's still a friendship that is based on virtue. It's still a friendship that is based on my wish of her to be happy. This is what Aristotle defined as good friends. So if each one wants the other to be happy, we're talking about friendship that is based on virtue. So I don't think the means is true that it's much fun to be with your friends in person, but what is very important in friendships, and Aristotle said that too, is conversations. So we cannot just say we are super good friends, but we met last time in grade 1. Like maybe we played together a lot at the time, but I have no idea about her life. So as conversation can be done over Zoom, over social media, it is possible to have deep friendships right now.
Oh, we have Chloe from Montreal. You've raised your hand, so go ahead. You can unmute and ask the last question.
Hello, Susanna. Thank you very much for your talk. I was wondering, for friends that are not part of the close friends, just like in life you have a lot of friends, are we responsible for not their happiness, but to help them if we know that they're having a hard time? Because there's so many people that are our friends. So are we responsible for all of these people, or what is the limit?
Yeah, there are no limits really. Like, if you care for the world, you are responsible for the whole world. So yeah, you are responsible for them. They may not hear to you in the same way as your close friends would. This person may have a higher risk of interpreting your advice as, what are you doing in my life, if we are not that much close friends. But I think that we should feel responsible for everyone, as we would do when we were walking in the street and someone is doing something that is going to harm her life. We would stop the person. We wouldn't say, oh no, I don't know you, sorry, the limit is here, I don't know your name. We would do something for her. So I think the difference is going to be in the way we do it, I think. Because if we are not super close friends with the person, we may need to create an atmosphere in which the person is going to feel safe, which is always important when we're giving feedback, especially when it's a feedback that we know could be difficult for the person. So we will need to create an ambiance in which she's going to feel, or he is going to feel safe. But I would feel responsible for everyone around us, only because I do believe that everyone, like, we could be right now in so many places and so many times in history, that if we are here and now, is because of a reason. So the people that are around us are there for a reason. So yeah, I would feel responsible for them.
Thank you.
À toi.
Thank you so very much, Susanna, for your words of wisdom, and above all, like, the encouragement to reflect on the quality of our friendships, which is, I think, what we're trying to do, with the session today. So, ladies, we'll stop for this evening.